2003 GMC Sierra 5.3 liter engine. I am having a coolant leak on this truck, and I'm having a little hard time to find where it's coming from. As you can see, there's a fluid on it, and you can see it's green. It's antifreeze. It's not the correct one for the GM, but it is antifreeze. Now I can see that the oil pan is wet. It's kind of this way, so I don't know if it's coming from the front. This is a passenger side of the vehicle, is the alternator. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to pressurize the system and see if I can find a leak, and I'll show you guys what I use to pressurize my cooling system. I'm having a Matco adapter for my water jacket. I'm going to put that in. There's the radiator, the water jacket cap, and of course if the cooling system is hot, make sure, just wait for the cooling system to cool down before you open it so it doesn't get burned. Now here's my system. You guys seen this before. I use the same system to check for the head gasket with my first look sensor. It's just a hose, has the adapter. This is what I found on eBay from there was some cheap kit that I of course with a mechanical pump, so I took the pump off and I'm using this adapter only. And we got this T adapter here for my first look sensor if I want to use it, and then gauge, pressure regulator, and a simple valve. Okay, now I'm gonna put this on. Sorry. It's no different than a mechanical pump, but the nice thing about this, when you just hook it up to your air compressor and you pressurize the system. Now, what I have found is very useful if you have a large leak and you keep pumping the pump, but the leak's so much that you can't look for it, because by the time you look around, the pressure is already gone. This actually helps a lot. I actually had one with the you remember, guys, when I was actually drilled a hole through the radiator? I made a video, and I was really having a difficult time to find where it's coming from. But every time I try to pump the pressure, it would just leak so much. But with this one, you can actually keep constant pressure in your cooling system and find your leak. And also, actually works pretty good on the small leaks. I can leave this overnight, pressurize the system, check for leaks, and if I can't find the leak right now, I can leave it on the hooked up, once I regulate my pressure 14-15 psi, I'm just going to leave it overnight. Once the pressure drops down, the compressor is going to keep the constant pressure on my cooling system, and if I have a leak, it's going to come out somewhere. And so first what I do, I'm going to close this valve here, and I'm going to hook up my air compressor. And so now my pressure regulator is completely closed. I don't like to keep it, I want to slowly control my pressure, how much I pressurize the cooling system. So I'm just going to slowly open just to make sure you can see the needle is not moving right now. And so now I'm going to slowly increase the pressure. There you go. And as I said, once I get around 15 psi, I'm just going to lock it and stop. And the next step, I'm going to close the valve, and I'm just going to observe the gauge and see if the needle drops, if you have a larger leak in the system. You're almost at 15 psi. I'm going to open up a little bit more, and that should do it. Down just a bit. Alright, I'm at the 14 psi. I'm just going to lock my regulator, and now I can actually close my valve, and now the system is disconnected from the air compressor, and I'm just going to leave it for 15-20 minutes and observe how much pressure did I lose. And I'm going to use this little bungee cord just kind of prevent this from slipping or something. So I'm going to leave it like this, and we're going to come back and see, how much needle dropped. And it's been 15 minutes now, and there's maybe half of the psi drop in pressure, not much at all. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to open up my valve and let the compressor keep constant pressure. I'm going to come back in the morning and see if you can see anything on the floor, or look around the engine and see if you can find a leak. So this is what I like about this system. My compressor is going to keep constant pressure in a cooling system, and if I have a leak, I should be able to find it in the morning, and I'm convinced I'm going to be able to. And I'm going to leave it as it is, and we'll see what happens in the morning. There's the next morning. You can see a lot of coolant actually down on the floor. Let's get out of the truck and see where it's coming from. As you can see, my compressor was keeping my pressure at 15 psi constantly over the night, and we can see a lot of coolant on the floor. Looks like it's coming from the front of the engine, so most likely we have a problem with the water pump. Okay, there's a lot of coolant there. You can see how much it drips now. So let's see. I got some more here, some more there, there. It's definitely coming from the water pump. Okay, it's not a water pump. Looks like it's a thermostat housing. Yeah. Cool. Right there. Nice. That'll be easily repaired. I got my valve closed. I disconnected my air hose, and now we're just looking at the gauge, and you can see it's holding the pressure just fine. There's a slight drop. It's been good, I would say, in 10 minutes since I closed the valve. But sometimes these small leaks can be very, very difficult to find, and you just have to leave the car overnight. Pressurize the system and let it be and see what happens. Now, if you have a manual pump, that works. But sometimes, again, once the pressure drops, it may stop, and then you may miss it. You may not be able to find your leak. But with this system, your air compressor is going to keep your constant pressure at 15 psi, and you're going to be able to find it. You see how much coolant got leaked out of this cooling system. If I would have just a pump, if I would just pump the pressure to 15 psi, it would not leak that much coolant at all. There's no way. But with this system, this is what I really, really like. And actually, I use this now all the time. I don't even bother messing with a manual pump. I just use it's just so much easier. Pressurize the system. I mean, my next project with this one, most likely it's going to be to actually make a universal kit where I can gonna use this for to pressurize the system, to look for leaks. Then to use this adapter here for my for my first look sensor to check for the head gasket, and also my other idea is to I'll show you guys real quick. I have this airlift system. I love these things. You can, when you fill the when you're doing repair in the cooling system, at the end you put this adapter in, you suck all the air out of the cooling system, and you refill it. And here's the adapter that you're going to put on this system, actually hook it up to your air hose to make the venturi, to actually make the vacuum. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to replace this fitting that's to one that's going to fit to this fitting here. So I'm thinking I can actually use this whole system for everything. So I can apply, I can adapt this adapter here. And now I have to change my gauge. I already found one on eBay. Got to have a gauge that can actually measure positive and negative pressure. So I've got one that will go to like up to 30 psi pressure on positive, like 20 inches of vacuum and negative. So I'm going to be able to actually use this for everything. Once I apply it to like 15 inches of vacuum on my cooling system, then I can refill it simply by just adapting my hose here. So I'll have to see what I'm going to do, but I am definitely going to make something that what I don't like about these things, sometimes they're very difficult to seal. these rubber adapters. Sometimes they're difficult to seal, but now with this I'm gonna be able to use my regular adapters, which I like so much better. And I'll let you guys know how that works, but I think it should work just fine. I have an extra female adapter for this T adapter here, and can just put it in, put my air hose, and suck the vacuum out, suck the air out of the system. I might actually shorten this hose a little bit. We'll see, and I think it's just a little bit too long. But this works great. This is going to be my universal cooling system tester and a refill system and everything. So. And alright, I'm gonna get this one fixed and ship it down the road. I got a thermostat, belts, and it's been I would say good 20-30 minutes since I went to AutoZone and back, and you can see this needle barely moved at all. Just my point is, you know, when you have these hard to find leaks, you just have to give it a time. You have to be patient, pressurize the system, leave it overnight, whatever it takes. You will find it. It will take time sometimes. And you can see, I mean, it did not move at all. I finished the repair, and you can see the O-ring on this thermostat pretty much deteriorated. I replaced the whole thermostat with housing and everything, and also changed a belt. Now, I've changed this setup as well, and I think it will work. It's still not completed, but I just want to try to see how it works. Now, I changed this adapter here from male to female, and this is kind of long, but this is the only one I had enjoyed this male to male adapter. I'm going to shorten it down. I'm going to get another one. Something else I need also, as I mentioned, I have to change this gauge that can actually measure negative and positive pressure. I will look for one that goes from 30 minus and 30 plus, 30 inches of vacuum and 30 psi of pressure. And so now I'm gonna put this on my adapter here, and now this one has a valve built in, so this is sealed right now. And the first thing what I can do, I can simply now check my cooling system for leaks before I even put any coolant in it. I can just pressurize it simply by adding air to my cooling system. And again, I'm always like to close this valve. I don't want to rush the air in a cooling system, and slowly open it. And I have a leak somewhere actually. There you go. I think it was this adapter was not all the way. Okay. So I'm gonna get to 15 psi, and I know my system is okay. I don't have to worry about. But now I can close this valve. I can leave the hose on or not. I can disconnect it, and basically now I have just a regular cooling system tester, and I can just watch the gauge and see if I have any leaks. So this is before I even get any coolant in the system. Now this can be done also with the air lift system. You basically suck the air out, and you look, once you reach a certain vacuum in your system, you can see the vacuum is going to go back up to zero. But this is another way of doing it as well. And so now I can open it up and let the air out. And of course, you guys know that I can leave this overnight, open up the valve and pressurize the system continuously, and as you can see, I was able to find the leak on my thermostat. Alright, the next thing I can do with it, I can now on my first look sensor, now I have this male adapter, is my first look sensor. If I want to check the head gasket, I can open up the cooling system here. Let's just go to the 0, then close it, close this valve here, and I can adapt my first look sensor right into this T here, lock it in, and get my lev scope and get the reading from my cooling system. If I have any, you're going to have 2 channels, and I made a video on one of the cars that I did it, and so you're going to have a sync from one of the coil or injector, and you're going to get the second channel on your you're going to look at the signal from your first sensor that's coming from the cooling system is you're going to log the pulses, and if there are any of the pulses higher or lower, you're going to have a problem with the inside the cooling system. The gas is escaping into the cooling system. So that's another thing that I can do with this setup. Now the last one, now I can actually use it to fill the cooling system. I now have this adapter from my old airlift system. I'm going to connect this one here. Again, I'm going to change this. This is a little bit too long. I don't like it, but I just want to see how it works. And of course, I got to have one that has a different gauge. But now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pull the vacuum and look at the hoses to collapse. And these are not hard to. You don't really need to do that on these GMs. They're easy to fill up and purge the air out of it. So anyhow, this is like a demonstration. And so simply now we're going to close the valve on this end and put the air on this side, and it's going to start sucking the air out of the cooling system. It might take a while, it might take some, I don't know, 5-6 minutes or whatever, but once it's done, then I'm going to I need to get a new hose, and I'm just going to put this hose to this end, plug it in here, and get into my canister and get the coolant in a cooling system. As I said, unfortunately, I don't have the gauge now. It's at 0, but once I get another gauge on it, I will be able to see how much vacuum is in my cooling system, and I can see already that my hose is slowly collapsing. And this will work. This will be fine. I'm gonna open this valve all the way. Okay. My lower hose already collapsed. Big radiator hose, so I think I will stop. Again, I don't know how much vacuum I have, so I'm going to stop right now. Simply I'm going to take this adapter out, and right now my system is still sealed. As soon as I disconnect it, it seals the system. And it has a Schrader, as I said, it has a Schrader valve inside of it. And so now all I got to do is get my hose into my coolant, open up the valve, and now actually what else I can do, I was able to purge my line here, and I shut the valve off again, and if I want I can put this back on and purge a little bit more. Just the air that I sucked in by opening up the valve to prime this plastic filling hose. That's fine. Alright. Okay, so now I'm going to open up the valve here and let the coolant get into the cooling system. I don't know how the coolant's going to affect this regulator here. I'm not sure about that. I may do something different. I may actually get another valve or something to kind of stop coolant from coming this way. Maybe I can add another T adapter here. We'll see how long it lasts. I think it'll be okay, but it's going, it's a little slower than other units, but it'll be alright. I think it's because of this regulator, it might obstruct the flow of fluid a little bit. Now, something else I can do, I can simply get another male adapter, put it on this filling hose and just fill it from this end. That will work as well. Up, and I'm gonna put this adapter to this hose here. And oops. Alright, here we go. Let's see if it's going to be a little bit faster in this end. You know, right now I don't have my gauge. I really don't know how much coolant did I get in, but I think it's not pulling any more coolant. Try if I maybe pull some vacuum a little bit, pull a little bit more vacuum and see how it's going. Okay, this will be enough. And let's see if we can suck any more. There we go. I think. There you go. This I didn't have to push all the way. All right, it's going now. I didn't push my adapter all the way in. All right, that's going to be now. Okay. It has to go all the way up to pretty much to the bottom of it. All right, it's good. It's going in now. I don't think this is not. I have to go back to this one here. Because I can see my lower hose is still collapsed and it's still not sucking the coolant in. Yeah, this is still a prototype. I'm still playing with it. So it's first time. Let's see now. There you go. Yeah, I think I'm just going to use this bottom one to refill the system and be fine. I don't think this is going to work because I mean it will just take so much time to fill up the system, but technically it does work, but not as good because like this is the airlift system and it's pretty much wide open. There are no restrictions here. Now this system, in order to seal, to test it, you know that you have a spring here. So the only way that fluid is going to go is between these two tiny openings, and it's just not ideal for. You see, and unfortunately, it's not the ideal system for to fill it up. But well, I tried, and. Yeah, it works. It just takes so much longer to fill it up. So I'm not sure if it's really worth it putting a another gauge and that kind of stuff on it. So I don't know, but it does It does work very well to find the cooling leak, to repressurize the system before you add your coolant in it. Now I can easily adapt my first look sensor to it, and it's still a very valuable tool. I like it. And alright guys, that'll be it. See you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.